Okay, welcome to my friends and seniors. This is also a requested video. So today we are going to discuss about very briefly, not going in depth about the transients in fast reactors. So today is 30th December. New Year is coming, so my advance wishes to all of you for a prosperous, happy New Year. So I made one small PPT. I will explain. I'm going to explain it very briefly, not going to the depth of the theory and mathematics. So let me take one pen. Okay. So first we should understand the importance. Why it is required to understand the transient. Say when a system, any system or human beings, whomsoever maybe, when they are in a steady state, say when I will be in steady state, then the type of excitation, the type of excitation you will be giving to me, that means you are giving some assignment or asking some question, very politely I will be delivering you the output based on that. It is not dependent on my inherent characteristics. Okay, whatever you will ask, I will reply that. Okay, like whenever we are going to any shop, any different shop, you ask some grocery items, they will give, they will deliver. It doesn't, that behavior does not dependent on the characteristics of that particular person. Okay, but sometime if there is no excitation, there will be some behavior it will exhibit. Basically, to handle that is the transient situation, when there is no excitation. Okay, to handle that situation, it is very difficult. There is no excitation, nothing, but something is coming out due to some reason, due to some passive parameter of the system. Or you can consider the human behavior. It is much more difficult to understand the transient in human behavior. A lot of people did a lot of behavioral model of human beings. There is a separate subject, that human behavior modeling, and it's transient. It's very difficult. Sometimes I also not understand. There is nothing. I don't have any, I'm not giving any excitation to my wife, but suddenly something is behaving, she is behaving something else. I am thinking so much, from where this kind of response is coming. So this is called transient behavior. So we should understand, when there is no excitation, we will understand it in some mathematical form. So say there is an ordinary differential equation. So in the differential equation, there will be, say you take any, there will be a differential operator, and this is your dependent variable, and there is an excitation of some function. Some function as excitation, which is a function of x. So normally if you solve this, you will get a solution y in terms of x, correct? So in case of ordinary differential equation, what we will do? First I will find out the auxiliary equation. Okay, so this is the auxiliary equation, equate to 0. Find out the roots of d, and then you find out the complementary function. Okay. Another is particular integral, which is nothing but that fx by fd. Here, this particular integral, that will indicate the steady state response or forced response, which is dependent on the type of excitation. This pi part is completely dependent on the excitation part. But the complementary function, you see, for the complementary function, there is no excitation part. That complementary function part of a solution of a differential equation, it will give the transients. Okay, without any excitation, it will behave something. So the concept of transient, you can the transient you can conceptualize in that way, that if we can model something in a mathematical by a mathematical modeling, and there if you remove the excitation part and get the solution, that will give the excitation. We can assume in this way. Okay. So here this excitation in case of nuclear reactor, in case of nuclear reactor, the entire phenomena, this power, temperature, everything is dependent on the reactivity. Okay, this you can conceptualize very easily if you refer my earlier lecture on 5 feedback mechanism to estimate the reactivity. So there, if you remember the block diagram, in case of accident or the perturbation, okay, if there is an accident or some perturbation, so basically immediately there will be a change of flow, temperature, okay, and the so from there you can conceptualize that if there is a change of flow, or this flow stop, or there is a sudden change of reactivity, external or somehow, okay, so that will cause the transient. So that basically the transient will occur when the change of reactivity will take place. Okay. So this entire reactivity, if you model mathematically, it can be expressed by this equation. I am not going to the depth of this equation. If somebody is interested, because it's a pure mathematics, and if we can solve this equation, this is called Boltzmann linear integral differential transport equation. It's a neutron transportation theory. This is the extended version of Fick's law. Okay, dependent on macroscopic and microscopic cross section, the solid angles, neutron interactions, etc., etc. So in the excitation part, the first term, the first term is the streaming term, which gives, just I am telling that the excitation part. Okay. So the phi, this is the neutron flux density. So the first term in the excitation side, it is the which gives the loss of neutron due to leakage. The second term, it's the removal of neutron from phase space due to interaction. The third term, the third term is the gain of neutron in the phase space due to total fission in the medium. The fourth term represent the gain of neutron in the phase space due to interaction from other energies and solid angles. And this is the external source. Now, if we convert this equation to a differential equation, that I am not showing, if we can convert this equation to a differential equation and then get the solution, if you are able to, because sometimes it is not coming into that particular differential equation, there are some standard form. If it is not coming in that form, you can always go for a numerical solution or the infinite series solution. After obtaining the solution, if you apply the final and initial value theorem, so initial value theorem means t tends to ft, t tends to 0. This will give you basically the transient. So which is nothing but S domain, S tends to infinity, SFS, correct? So this will give this is the initial value theorem, and the final value theorem is t tends to infinity, ft is equal to S tends to 0, SFS. So from there you can find out which one is the transient part. So if you get that solution and if you recall that fight feedback mechanism, so the transient, these two, whatever the things I told so far, from there if you conceptualize, then you can understand that the transient will occur when there is a change of flow, when there is a change of coolant volume, and when there is a change of, if there is a external reactivity injected or withdrawn or something like that. Okay, the transient will occur in such case. So I have discussed these things to give you so there are three major factors due to flow withdrawal or flow stop or something. There is a sudden change of coolant volume change, or you are due to some control mechanism you are increasing or decreasing the reactivity. Basically that gives the change of neutron flux. So this is the theory, and from there only that the perturbation theory is from this equation only, this Boltzmann linear integral differential transport equation, Fick's law, and the concept of that solution. From there only the perturbation theory is evolved. There is a several first order, second order, different kind of perturbation theory is there. So this is the fundamental, this is the mathematics behind the concept of transients in nuclear reactor. So in fast reactor, broadly the transients are classified into three major categories. One is unprotected accident of loss of flow, EULOFA, then unprotected transient overpower, UTOPA, and unprotected loss of heat sink, ULSH. So it is basically the thing, you see, people who are involved in core temperature monitoring is in last lecture I have told that is the major thing through which we can estimate all the five feedback path, finally change of reactivity. Something will be positive and something will be negative. I have clearly explained there. So these are the basically three transient can occur in fast reactor. Okay. So what is this EULOFA? So due to accident or perturbation, if the primary flow reduces, which normally flow, because your Q is equal to that, your mass flow is basically dependent on the your temperature gradient. Your your temperature gradient is predicted by the mass flow rate. So if the primary flow reduces, definitely it will cause rise in the outlet coolant temperature. This rise in temperature cause the thermal expansion of the core component, mainly the subassembly and your volume increased. Correct? Volume is increased. Volume increase means it is going away from the critical volume. If you remember my first lecture on reactor physics, so which will enhance the neutron leakage and slow down the chain reaction. So if you recall my that fight feedback reactivity estimation lecture, there will be green color, I think green, or I have defined different color to understand. So it will give a negative feedback. Okay, and due to this reason, the rise in power and temperature, it will slow down, it will stop, and eventually it will bring to this power and temperature, it will come down to a asymptotic value. Okay, so this phenomena is called EULOFA, and this straight line is prediction from the numerical solution and plotted. In the x-axis is the transient time and this is the temperature. You see there is a shoot up of temperature when there is a flow, the flow reduced, when the primary flow is reduced. So there is a shoot up, there will be a sudden shooting up of the temperature, but due to the inherent feature of the neutron transportation and its flux distribution, this will come to a asymptotic value. So this is called EULOFA. UTOPA, this is when there is a uncontrolled withdrawal of control rod without scram. We know the scram. It's a emergency shutdown of nuclear reactor effected by immediately terminating the fission. Correct? So this will also, if you take the absorber rod up, so it will increase the reactivity and the power and the temperature will raise for the fuel as well as the coolant. So this is called UTOPA. Okay. Another is that EULO it is HS, heat sink. EULO HS. So this unprotected loss of heat sink occur due to the shutdown of the intermediate, it is a primary coolant or intermediate, you can tell. a shutdown of primary coolant pump. Primary coolant pump. That means if there is a sudden shutdown of the primary coolant pump, the primary is isolated and the inlet temperature will increase. Okay, reactor inlet temperature will increase, and due to the thermal expansion and enhanced neutron leakage, power reduces and the outlet temperature reduce. So this is graphically indicated. So these are the three major transient can occur in fast reactors. And as I was this is so here it is here also predicted data, and the measured data is plotted. It is more or less matching with the mathematical model and the practical experimental data. Okay, and as yesterday I was posting in the group that because of now, if we can compare who can give the better transient controllable, better means controllable transient response. So because of better thermodynamic and neutronic property, it can be proven, in my opinion, that metal fuel behavior during transient is superior to oxide fuel. It is more or less it is a well controllable because in case of if we can see, there is a pull type and there is a loop type which can give the better transient response. So in loop type the primary heat exchanger or the which called intermediate or primary heat exchanger, primary side, secondary side. So primary heat exchanger that are kept outside from the reactor. Okay, there is no pool, there is no swimming pool. So there the volume of the sodium is less. But in case of pool type, the primary or the intermediate heat exchanger, those are kept in sodium pool. It's a swimming pool, huge volume, is a big volume. So which can work as heat sink during the transient. So definitely it is obvious that the pull type will give the better stability and the controllability during the transient. And also it is depend on breeding. If there is the transient behavior can be superior or it is distinguishable based on the type of breeding. If there is a external breeding and there is a internal breeding, means the fissile and fertile material are mixed. Okay, so definitely if there is a blanket, so there is a possibility of more leakage. So in such case, that is if your fertile materials are outside of the main core, so that is called external breeding. And if fissile and fertile are mixed together, it is called internal breeding. So definitely external breeding will exhibit better transient response, controllable. So this is a very short discussion about the transients. Oh, sorry. So this was I hope very briefly and with a short discussion you are able to understand the concept of transient. And as I told, I'll be very happy to give you the solution step by step of this, and we can plot that in MATLAB, and we can see this kind of graphs. If someone specially interested, or then you can tell me, I'll be happy to do that. So once again, thank you so much to all. Thanks for your patience.